Hey there! Do you want to hear over an hour of mostly coherent rambling on indie card game stuff? Well then, this video is for you! As a heads up, I talk a lot in this first Q&A style video, so please skip to interesting questions using the YouTube chapters and increase the video speed to your liking. I also recommend captions if you need it. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey, what's up guys? Fleshy Kevin here today. That term, man, I'm getting that from the VTuber world right now. I don't even watch VTubers, but I think it's funny how if you're in person, you're being called a flesh tuber or whatever you call it. And this is the first ever Kevin Cracks Cards Q&A session, I guess, kind of video. Again, this is gonna be like, barely edited, just me going in depth on all you guys' questions, because you guys deserve a lot of words, because you guys waited a long time for this Q&A. And thank you again to my Discord server friends. I appreciate all you guys. You guys ask amazing questions. Everyone in my server apparently has a brain. They can think for themselves and they can ask good questions. So I appreciate that. Thank you for having neurons, my friends. We appreciate you all. And if you want to ask future questions for the channel, join our Discord, the community Discord for this channel. The link is in the comments of this video, and you can check it out. Freedom of speech, all that good stuff. Talk crap about your favorite card games. Do it, please. I highly suggest it. And you can chat with me, moderators, whoever, good people, TCG folk, whatever. Have a good time. All right. So, first question of this Q&A by Mr. Speed Robo Games. Mr. Speed Robo says, when picking up a new tabletop game, what's the first thing you look for? That is a very good question, Mr. Speed Robo. So, I think in general, I'm very busy these days, as is most people. So time is of the essence. I don't have a ton of time, and I also want to play a lot of games. So first thing I generally look for, obviously I look at the aesthetics of the game. If the game is up my alley, like of aesthetics, I'm a sucker for like monster kind of stuff, to keep it really honest with you. Like I like these Pokemon cryptid kind of style stuff. If it has a Pokemon-esque aesthetic of like monsters or whatever, I'm all in on it, man. Like I don't care. I mean, as long as the gameplay is good, I am willing to give a monster kind of game a shot. I mean, that's my personal bias. I grew up on Pokemon, and that kind of stuff is my jam, to be very honest with you. I'm also a fan of bugs. We'll get to that pretty soon, but bugs, fish. I love deep sea animals. I have a bachelor's degree in biology, okay? So, like, I love animals, to be honest with you. So, aesthetics, bugs, whatever, it comes first, right? But in terms of gameplay, I'm looking also at a few things for the gameplay after aesthetics. I want to see how long does it take to play a game. I'm more willing to play a game if that game can be played in like 20 to 30 minutes, even 15 minutes, in that kind of shorter time frame. Because shorter games allows me to play more games, which allows me to get better at the games with my friends, and we actually, learn the game more. Shorter games also allows you to play more different games in the same time frame. So if on average we had games that was like 30 minutes in length, and we had a 2-hour play session, we could in theory play 3 to 4 different games if my friends and I knew those games well enough. So having shorter time frames, I think, is going to be a good thing that I'm looking for. I also look at pricing a lot. So for me, if anything is above $40, I'm hesitant to buy it already. A good example of this is Echoes of Astra. That game looked pretty good. It got $700,000 on Kickstarter. So, it's doing pretty good. I was thinking about backing it, but it's honestly at that $50 price range for 3 booster packs and 2 starter decks. I wasn't feeling all in on buying that. Generally speaking, I want my starter decks to be like, 10 to 20 bucks, 15 bucks ideally is pretty good. And I don't want to put like, more than 40 bucks in to play a game with a friend, you know? Because almost always I'm the one that's going to be buying the game, buying the products, and then having my friends, you know, partner, whoever, play with my cards. I'm loaning all that stuff out. And I'm kind of broke, to be honest with you. So I don't have a ton of money to be putting out games all the time, like $40 entry, all of that. I have some money reserved occasionally for like, say, $100 to a card game when needed. But in general, I'm pretty strapped with cash right now. So if I can try a game for $20 to $40, that's going to be ideal. Multiplayer is also going to be a plus. If I can play this game with 4 people, that helps me play with, you know, bigger play groups and just accommodate more people in a play setting. I also like games that can play even up to 6 people. Sometimes you do have that 5th person come in a play group, and it can be kind of awkward to have them, you know, lounging around, watching the gameplay if they want to join in. Or usually I'll just not, you know, even play. I'll be the one to be like, hey, I'll drop out. I'll help, you know, teach the game more, be a judge, if you will. And that's cool. So to summarize the question, in general, I would say I go for timing, you know, of the game, how long the game is, aesthetics first, gameplay of it, and also like how big the play group is. I'm also not a huge fan of like, say, long RPG games that take up multiple play sessions. Usually I have to just pick up and play with whoever I have available if I'm looking to play a game. So that's a huge factor there. But in general, I will look at the box and look at the key details. I'm like, okay, what's the playtime? What's the complexity level? All that kind of stuff. Oh, complexity is a big thing too. If the game just looks too complex, I'm probably not going to be willing to pick it up. I mean, you guys have seen me in my channel. I'll have videos of me looking at rulebooks for like 2 hours straight if I really want to learn a game. I can't do that with every game. I can't be reading a rulebook for 2 hours plus straight to learn every single game. I have to actually care about the game enough and also care about the people making it to put that level of care into reading the rules and teaching the game. So again, with the current time I have to pick games that are going to be shorter to play, less complex, and of course have the aesthetics I'm looking for to get me into that initial hook. So that's my answer, Mr. Speed Robo. Hope you like that. And again, Mr. Speed Robo makes good games, is the current only sponsor of this channel. So check his games out. Use my code KevinCracksCards in the description below. Pick up some games, free shipping, support the channel. Thank you again. Question number 2 by the amazing 2 Fluent, Shardbug's TCG Creator, a card game I really like for the bug aesthetics, and also it's a solid game. Still haven't played it yet, to be honest. I've been working on trying to play it for a while. I know how to play. I've been analyzing the game. I will play in some tournaments, at least one tournament in the future. Had to kind of flake on a tournament tomorrow because of a conflict, to be honest with you. But I'm gonna play, and this is a cool game. You should definitely pick up Shardbugs. Okay, for the question, how many sets a year do you think keeps a game relevant but not oversaturated? Okay, there's a short answer to this and there's a long answer to this. Short answer, 2 to 4 sets. Keep it at that. Okay, 2 to 4 sets in general. I think 3 is actually a pretty good sweet spot, honestly, of that. Definitely don't do what WotC is doing and just keep pumping out sets all day all night, because Hasbro is greedy and looking for money. But that said, the long answer is this. How many sets really depends on a lot of factors. We have to remember that if you work in R&D for a card game, making a card game set is not easy. It's a lot of work to make a card game set. It's simple to do in theory. All you really have to do is come up with the gameplay mechanics for cards, make a card list, have a ton of art for each of the cards, put all this art on a graphic design templates, and just put all the art of the cards there, QA that, make sure it's solid, do some product design, graphic design for the boxes, all of that, talk with a manufacturer, work out the deals with manufacturing deals with that, have them print X number of supplies. It's not that complicated to make a set, but it's not easy to do. It's a lot of work that goes into it. A lot of people hours needed in order to just make that card game set. So it's a lot of work to do that. Now that said, all sets are not going to be created equally. So if you have a set with, say, 300 cards, that's going to go and have more meat for the players to generally grab themselves into the metagame. But there's some caveats there, right? You can have a set with 300 cards, but if only 30 of the cards are metagame viable, is that really going to pump up, say, the metagame interest in the set? In reality, it's not just quantity of cards that makes a set for a card game relevant. It's the quality of the card gameplay. Obviously, the art and the collector chase, that's going to be important too. So you can keep a set, attractive to the consumers to keep being relevant if it looks awesome, you put enough chase there, all of that. But the main point I'm trying to say is, it's not just how many sets your card game is going to put out a year. The quality of the set needs to be good. Good gameplay, good chase, reasons for people to buy it, the art, aesthetics, hidden rarities, or whatever. Like, it has to be there. So if the quality of the set is good, then you can put out less sets because people are going to, be more willing to try out and keep playing the set. The reason why WotC, for instance, keeps pushing out these sets is they want the money and they have, the resources to actually keep pushing out these sets all day and all night. And Magic players are very frustrated by that. I remember when, say, Duskmorn, whatever that set is, came out, and Bloomburg came out, and those sets were cool, but dude, those sets were relevant for like 2 weeks, and then it was on to the next set. It's so frustrating with these mainstream card games, like how quickly people just churn through and keep going through these sets. But here's also the other caveat. To make a high quality set for a card game takes a lot of time. You have to do more playtesting, you have to make sure the art is really good, really hone in the themes for the set, for that, creator direction for the set, for the card game. So it's not easy making a quality set. I really do think old school Magic had it right, with about 3 to 4 sets a year, usually about 4 sets to put out. And it, I think the players at that time felt really good with that. I wasn't in that time period, but there is a manga featuring some of the old school Magic communities by, WotC actually. And you could see in the manga, like, the way creators talk about the old school community of the game, it's very, they appreciate the pacing of it. They can actually appreciate, oh yeah, this set is actually awesome. This base set's hella awesome. These alpha cards are awesome. They remember the set as a whole and the story. So again, 3 to 4 sets is going to be good. You can survive with 2 sets though. So games like Keyforge, for instance, for a while did like 2 sets a year. But Keyforge was kind of unique because it is a unique, but Keyforge is kind of unique because it is a unique deck building game. And because of that, the sealed environment in that space is going to last a lot more than, say, the deck building environment of the TCG space in some ways. Like with Keyforge Sealed, I can just keep buying sealed decks continuously once a week and not get too bored of it, in theory, as long as the decks are unique and they're fun as is. With TCG booster box sets, yeah, you can crack packs all day, all night, but eventually someone, say like someone like me or whoever, is going to solve the metagame at some point, unless your game is really well made. If your game is really well made and it's super hard to solve the metagame, hats off to you, but usually that doesn't happen. Usually people these days, for the bigger games, they're solving metagames in like a week and like a day, man. Like, they're figuring out these combos super fast. So metagames get solved pretty quickly. So again, with how fast people are just solving metagames these days for card games, 3 to 4 sets, keep up the interest as is. And again, big tip, if you're making a card game, make your sets way in advance. Like, honestly, man, I would make a card game with like at least 2 years. I would do 2 years of content planned for that card game, because things are gonna happen, pressure's gonna happen. Trust me, you do not want to be making a card game sets, on the fly, like right before release. Been there, if you're catching my drift. Been there. You don't want to do that. You want to have years of planning for a card game set before you release the set. That's my big advice right there for anyone who's interested. But Too Fluent doesn't need to hear that, because Too Fluent, in my opinion, basically knows what he's doing. So he doesn't need to know that, but as much, because his team knows what he's doing. Kind of like Sweet Turbo, they know what they're doing, right? These guys know what they're doing. But that said, You know, 3 to 4 sets a year. Keep it at that. Even two a year is good if the set quality is good. You do not want to go under 2 sets a year. Do not go under 2 sets a year, because 1 set a year, hype is gonna die. Like, hype is just gonna die for the game. And if you do 2 sets a year, make the sets good. Like, you have to make them high quality. Put in like a lot of cards, like 200 plus cards. Make the cards good, make it viable. That's fine. Now, okay, one more caveat on this topic, and I'll move on. You could, in theory, do 1 set a year. Okay, you could do 1 set a year. Really don't. I keep changing the number for this topic, but you could do 1 set a year if the set is really good. Like, it has to be like high quality. All the cards are great. Lots of cards, great art. It could work, and this would work for, like, say, a indie TCGs, you know, small team, 2 to 3 people. It could work if you're not trying to make the most profit in the world. If you're trying to make a business, do not do 1 set a year. If you're trying to make an actual business, or you're trying to make an actual living off your TCG, go for the 3 to 4 range, maybe the 2 range if your game can accommodate it and it's good and high quality enough. 1 set a year is more like hobby TCG. This is my side thing. This is not a business per se, because you gotta sell. You know, and these days, with how short attention spans are, if you're not putting out multiple products a year, hype is gonna die for a game. And you don't need too much hype for a game, but you gotta maintain interest. You gotta maintain it. People have to keep looking forward to something that is not like 2 years ahead of time. You have to like maintain interest for like at least like 6 months, you know, something like that in the shorter term. And put in like promos and stuff in between, like, you know, tournaments, organizing, whatever in between. But again, 3 to 4 sets, you know, 2 to 4 sets, you know, in that range. 1 set if you're more of a hobby indie TCG creator. Thank you again, Too Fluent. Shardbugs is awesome. Check it out, you know. Okay, Squilliam, amazing content creator, good friend also, a part of the Speed Robo gang also. 2 questions back to back. Thank you, Squilliam. First of all, what makes the ideal 2-player kit for more specifically card games, but any tabletop genre as well? This is actually hinting back at a video he made recently with Nom Nom, which, you know, I'll show on screen here. Check that video out. And then number 2, how would you like to see the content creator space for tabletop games change or improve? Very good question, Squilliam. Thank you very much. Good content again. Okay, so for me, the ideal 2-player starter kit is actually not that complicated, okay? It's gonna basically be the bare minimum to start playing the game, okay? So like 2 decks, for instance. You know, you don't have to have 3 decks in there, like the Splat Box or whatever. That's like extra, but at the minimum is like 2 decks, just what people need to start playing the game. I would also include a couple booster packs in there. Actually, I would include some randomization in there of some kind, whether it's like special variant cards, again, the booster packs, whatever. The reason you want that is you want to expose your potential customers to what opening a booster pack or any kind of randomized product would feel like, because with a 2-player starter kit, they're already buying the game. You want them to keep buying the game. You want them to keep buying products for that game. So you have to expose them to the booster packs. You gotta expose them to that randomized stuff. So definitely do include like a couple booster packs, 1 for each player to open. And please, the future of trading card games, in my opinion, is 1-pack battles. Please make it so you can play your game with 1 pack. You know, that way there's like 2 games in one. The pre-con decks, whatever, and then the booster pack decks. And then I would also include, you know, the bare minimum tokens needed, the rule book for your game. You're going to need that. You know, maybe include some, you know, extra tips on how to play your decks a little bit, maybe a script for how to play your decks. That would be good. But also, the most important factor is actually none of that stuff. None of that stuff actually matters. It's actually the price. The price matters as much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everything I said matters. The pre-cons, booster box, you know, booster packs, all that stuff all matters, right? No, what actually matters is the price, because if it's too high costing, like say Echoes of Astra, $50. Echoes of Astra looks pretty good. I'll keep saying it looks like an awesome game. $50 to try it. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do $50 to try a card game. I'm just gonna keep it real with you guys. Like, it's a lot of money. I have to really like the game to commit to $50 for trying it out. I think it's $55 actually, MSRP. So again, the price is the most important thing for these 2-player kits. You gotta make the price good. You gotta make the price like not too costly. So with the price, man, honestly, like I would keep it to like $10 to $20. I think that's the ideal price range. 25 is pushing it. If I'm paying 25, it gotta be really good, man. It has to be competitive cards, like good. But like, you know, $10 to $20 for a 2-player starter kit, you know, in general is good. Please don't make your starter kits completely terrible, but, you know, put in a couple good cards. You don't have to make it like competitively viable, but put in some good cards. Put in some good cards in there, good promos, whatever. That's gonna be good. But, you know, I'm also, again, I like the Echoes of Astra first, you know, example in the first question. I would do $40 as well. You know, $20 per deck if the decks were better made. Like if they were like, you know, semi-competitive decks, more akin to like Yu-Gi-Oh! Structure decks, you know, then maybe I would do like $20 a deck at that point for per player. But again, that's just me. The average consumer, I think, doesn't want to spend more than $20 on a 2-player starter kit. $15 is going to be ideal. And again, please add, you know, 2 booster packs in there to expose the people to that product. That would be, you know, the ideal. Now, in terms of the tabletop genre for 2-player starter kits, it's kind of the same deal. You want the bare minimum for 2 people to actually play the game, not make it too costly to try it out, have some randomized thing, have some cool variant thing in there. You know, for instance, I liked what Origins did with their starter decks. They have a random copy of the Combo Dragon. You know, it's 3 Combo Dragons, and they look pretty cool, you know? So it's cool that you have a nice little variant in there just to keep your starter deck kind of spicy, like a Pokemon starter. But yeah, so it's kind of the same idea for tabletop general games. You just want to have bare minimum, some randomized thing, don't make it too costly, and you're kind of golden overall. But like Squilliam says in his video, 2-player starter kits, I mean, again, like, should you have a dedicated 2-player starter kit for a game in general? I think it can be a good idea. The problem is, why would someone who's already, you know, who already knows the game buy the 2-player starter kit? You have to make the 2-player starter kit enticing to buy for all kinds of players, because if only new people are buying the product, not many people are gonna buy the product. The people who buy the product are the ones who actually spend money already on the product. A lot of these indie card games, for instance, are being carried by like a dozen people who drop like hundreds of dollars on these card games. Be honest with me, I know you, I see you, I'm one of those people too. We, you know, the dozen of people who actually support the indie card games legit. So because of that, you gotta make the product appealing for someone who already plays the game too. So if you can do that with a 2-player starter kit, you got those nice promos in there, unique cards for competitive play, some cool booster pack stuff, maybe some fancy tokens, whatever, then yeah, make a 2-player starter kit. But if not, maybe reconsider. Maybe you don't need a 2-player starter kit. You could go the Myriad approach. They don't even have a 2-player starter kit. All they have is the booster packs, because you can play the game with 1 pack. It goes back to the 1 pack idea, guys. The 1 pack idea. That's where it's at. 1 pack to play. You know, at least to demo the game. At least to demo the game, 1 pack to play. You know, all you need to play should be 1 pack, in my opinion. That's the way trading card games should go. At least to demo the game, please. Okay, question number 4. How would you like to see the content creator space for tabletop games change and improve? Okay, very short answer to this question. I mean, a lot of stuff I could say, but very short answer. Just, we need more content creators. We just need more people making content on tabletop games, particularly like these indie games, board games, card games, you know, these really small games no one cares about. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The way I prioritize games on my channel has multiple factors, but I will prioritize games that no one cares about, I think is really good, games that have no marketing, for instance, and I also choose games that have some kind of release thing happening, like say promos, or, you know, it's game just released. That's my priority. I'm trying to advocate for these smaller games. Like, I'm gonna be honest, you know, Shardbugs, they sent me free product. I haven't opened their product yet. I will. I don't make videos for Shard Bugs, but dude, I'm a nursing student. I work part-time to full-time, depending on my schedule. I have to drive 4 hours to see my girlfriend, every now and then, as is. Like, I'm a busy guy, and I still gotta find time to learn new games and do the stuff. Shard Bugs, let's be honest, they're doing great. Shard Bugs is doing fantastic. I love Shard Bugs. I love the art. Art speaks to me. All that stuff, I love all that. Shard Bugs, amazing game. Good product overall. Not perfect. We'll say that. They got some stuff to improve on overall, as is, as Scoring points out, but they're always improving. They're always improving as is. Not perfect, but they're always improving. And, I have faith they're doing pretty good. Now, if Shard Bugs is doing so well, am I going to prioritize, say, Shard Bugs when other games like Myriad, for instance? I love Myriad. It's probably honestly my favorite card game to play this year. A game with zero marketing, no website, all of that. Like, I'd rather play Myriad to support it because someone's got to be there. Like, someone's got to champion these games like no one cares about. And that's what I'm trying to do on my channel. Like, no one cares about these games. So again, I want to see more content, but I want to see content for games like no one cares about. Here's kind of the problem, though. If no one cares about a game and you put it up there, how do you make someone care about it, man? Like, how do you make someone actually care about this game when no one already cares about it anyways? There's so many games out there. I mean, yeah, I want to be the guy to say make more indie card game content, make more indie board game content, make more indie print and play games. Make more indie like RPG games, war games, video games, like whatever. Make more of this indie game content. But how can I say that when the space is so saturated with content already for mainstream games and indie games? It's really hard. To further add to this question, besides making more content and also pushing, advocating for this indie game content, for me also, I just want to see people lower their standards for content for a bit. I know it's kind of counterintuitive because I've been increasing my standards on my channel, but I'm also not perfect. I'm trying to improve the channel and make content for whatever works with my lifestyle. That's really what I'm trying to do. This video is a good example of that. But having said that, you don't need that much stuff or info to just start making content. Please, this is my opinion. If everyone out there spent $25 on an Amazon tripod and had a smartphone, right, and just YouTube lived, recorded, streamed their gameplay, the world would be a much better place. There would be free game content, free game marketing for all these people. People streaming, it'll be good for them also because they would, get maybe free promos. Some people like Speed Over Games, whoever, they would get free stuff. If everyone who just played their card games streamed their stuff, you don't even have to make that streamed content public. You could use it as B-roll. You could use it, you could use it as whatever. If everyone just out there just got a tripod and just streamed their gameplay with barely any lighting, just the okay lighting. You don't have to put too much effort, guys. If everyone did that, there would be so much more content out there for these indie card games. There would be so much more footage, more advocacy. The companies wouldn't have to pay as much money, to sponsor. They wouldn't have to sponsor my boy Tulane. Tulane is a great guy, makes awesome content, but they, an indie card game company wouldn't have to feel pressured to spend money on gameplay videos or to make it. If people just went out of their way, $25 and their phone and some Wi-Fi and just streamed content and occasionally put out their streamed videos as gameplay, barely any editing. That would help solve the gameplay dilemma issue I have on my channel, if everyone did that. So I think if we lower standards and, we as the indie card game space community kind of cumulatively was like, hey, let's actually show off our gameplay. Let's not just, do kitchen table play. Let's just show off our gameplay at the kitchen table. If we actually did that, man, I think it would improve a lot more, personally. So lower our standards, make more content, all that good stuff. But it's hard, man. It's hard making these indie games succeed and having people care about it, right? We talked about this in my Discord a little bit with Tulane, other people. But if you try to be a big mainstream TCG channel, a lot of competition because a lot of Magic the Gathering channels, a lot of Pokemon channels, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh channels. So that niche is already there. I'm not gonna compete with Team APS, for Yu-Gi-Oh. They already got that thing locked down. You know what I'm saying? And with indie card games, like, no one cares about it. So yeah, you can make a good indie card game video, but how do you get the average person to actually care about it? People already don't trust indie card games anyways, which we'll talk about later on in this Q&A. So it's hard. It's really hard. But I think we gotta lower our standards and just put out whatever. You know, just show off your YouTube Live. Show off YouTube Live of whatever. You'll be surprised how much impact it can have just having footage, you know, knowing that people stream a game. If people stream a game, even if that video is private, the fact that other people can see that this game is being streamed means people care about a game. And people need to know that other people care about a game. That's what we have to remember. We have to have that kind of care in there. It's not about the stream, because who's gonna watch 3 hours of gameplay footage? I did like 4 hours of Necromancer's footage, whatever, yesterday. No one's gonna watch all 4 hours. But the fact that I did stream 4 hours of Necromancers was huge, because it shows people I care about the game. And if other people know I care about the game, they're more willing to try the game, to just make more content, you know, anything. That's how I think it could improve, personally. That's my answer. Thank you again, Squilliam. Channel's cool, all that good stuff. Tactical 1. Oh my god, I cannot say that. Question number 5. This guy is a cool guy, very nice in the community, making their own game, Object Toys. You should check it out. Again, shout out to that, by the way, Discord or whatever. They asked, in your opinion, what is the most effective way to collect useful feedback / field appropriate criticisms from playtesters when playtesting a new TCG game design? Any avoidable pitfalls or successful data implementation methods to be aware of or consider? Oh boy, this is a very loaded question. There's a lot of stuff to consider. So yeah, I mean, you guys know I worked in R&D with the original MetaZoo for about 2 years. Made a lot of mistakes, I'll be honest with you. Made a lot of good stuff too. I had improvements, I improved, but I also made a lot of mistakes. So I have a lot I can speak to this. So, first of all, I'm gonna say this, okay? In playtesting, trust the science, but not the symptoms of what they say. So what I mean by that? So in healthcare, I'm a nursing student, right? So if you don't know, in healthcare, there's a difference between signs and symptoms. Signs is objective data. It's things I can look at. So signs are like, hey, their temperature is really hot. They have a fever, right? And then symptoms are like someone saying, oh, you know, I am sneezing, right? Like, I feel chills, I feel headache, right? Symptoms, so stuff they report. You know, objective versus subjective data. That's important to mind. If a playtester is frustrated, like, you know, and you look at them and you're like, man, like playtesters are, you know, my playtesters, they're cursing out loud. That's, you know, that's objective. They're looking away. They're feeling angry. They're feeling super frustrated. That's objective. You know, visual science on their face. You can trust that. Trust what they're doing. If people are giving attention to your game, like they're putting more time, they're smiling, they're laughing, that's a good sign they probably enjoy your game. And if they don't care about your game, they're not asking questions, they're going on their phone, they're being disengaged, trust that also. You should trust the signs the most from playtesters. Look at your playtesters, look at their face, record your playtesters, look at them in a room. Because again, the problem with TTS testing, the problem with online playtesting, is you can't see their faces, you can't really hear their voices sometimes if you're not using your voice. You know, you gotta see this kind of stuff, see body language, right? That's how you know what they actually feel about your game. Because again, what playtesters say is not always what they do. Okay, that's huge. Okay, a playtester may say, yeah, I liked your game, but did they really like your game? Were they asking a lot of questions? Were they laughing? Were they smiling? Right? Was there a gleam in their eyes? Right? It's kind of important stuff. That's important, man. Like, you have to look at those signs, trust the signs more. Doesn't mean you don't get their feedback. You know, you still want to get their criticism. You know, you still want to hear it. Speaking on the criticism, in my opinion, having a written form of feedback, even like a basic Google form or even paper, pencil, whatever kind of survey, if you're going down to basics, like whatever, that's good feedback as well. But trust the signs the most, get their symptoms. Now, regarding implementing like their feedback, regarding using playtester feedback, okay, this is very important. Do not trust everything a playtester says. That's very counterintuitive, but hear me out. Being a playtester, playing a game is not the same as designing a game. The designer has goals in mind, design goals. They have balanced methods in mind. They have certain things that's trying to hit. The playtesters are trying to give the designer the feedback if the designer hit those goals. A lot of times, playtesters have not made a game. They don't know game design, right? They know what they feel. They know what they feel in the moment. They know they feel frustrated, but they're also biased. They don't know why you balance a number the way it is. They don't know why you chose this thing the way it is. So if a playtester is like, this card's busted, you gotta change it this way, be skeptical. Be skeptical of it all. Does that mean the playtester is wrong? No, the playtester could be right in the balanced thing. They could have a totally real opinion. But here's the thing in game design, man. It's all opinions. There's no true right or wrong answer to anything. You as a designer have to have the confidence in the ego to be like, hey, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is right, and I gotta change it in a different way. You have to do that as a designer, and that's really, really, really hard. Okay, that's really, really hard. Regarding feedback too, you gotta remember what kind of playtesting were you doing, right? Playtests are like science experiments, right? You have to have the goals in mind. And I will do a whole video probably in the future on this topic, but I'll kind of summarize it here. In general, there's only 3 kinds of playtests you actually need. You got to playtest one for function. Is the game actually a game? Is it fun? Like, the fun test. Do a game of, do a playtest of the game, test the game, see if it's fun. See if you actually like playing the game. That's something you got to do. You got to test for. Number 2, you got to playtest the rule book. You got to do cold testing of the rule book. Put some people in a room, record them, sit in the back of a corner, have them read the rulebook, learn to play your game. Cold tests are very important. We talk about it a lot in general in the game design space, but cold tests, super important, underrated. Please do cold testing. And the only other kind of play test you generally need is a balance test. Do not do this. Do not balance your game by playtesting. Balance your game with math and general theory of your game design of your game before you make your game, available for playtesting. Playtest to confirm for balance. Do the math of your balance first. That's a whole series I want to do in the future on how to balance your game with math. But do the math of your game balance beforehand, then go and playtest and can see if your balance is confirmed. That's how you want to do that balance test, okay? You want to balance without playtesting first with the design and all of that. That's how you want to do things to save a lot of time overall. Also, regarding data of the playtesting feedback, right? How you collect feedback can vary a lot. So I will give you in a nutshell, honestly, how I did data collection when I was in MetaZoo at the very end, okay? Basically what I did, and I kind of copied this from a very good game design workshop. But I did it my way, right? Kind of similar to them. Basically what I did was playtesters would do a Google form whenever they played a game. They would answer some questions. The Google form responses would go to a system, a Trello board, basically, would take the Google form data with a plugin. It would take those feedback of testers. We as designers would then have these tickets of these feedback of the games and the feedback on certain cards. So, as a tester, you can make a feedback on a certain card. You can be like, hey, this card over here is busted. They'll have, we as a designer will see the card feedback, and then we'll be like, okay, cool. This card is busted. So we'll do our comments on that. We'll do any changes if necessary. And then basically at the very end, I would have a plugin that would take all these tickets and make them into a PDF. So testers and whoever can see, hey, we responded to your tickets. This is our opinions in the comments. These are any changes we made. That's basically, in a nutshell, like how I would do things if I was running a professional company. Some kind of system like that where testers can do written feedback, so that way it's cataloged. And then after that, I would go and PDF that information as it. That's basically like what I would do personally for professional kind of game design. Now that requires some plugin knowledge, a little bit of programming knowledge, not a whole lot, but that is how I would do things to collect playtester feedback these days. And yeah, that's all I have right now. There's a lot more I can talk about this question, but hopefully that gave you some tips on collecting feedback appropriately. And yeah, trust the signs, not the symptoms. Remember that. Okay, question number 6 by Verisi. Very loyal fan of the channel. Really appreciate them. Good person overall, and very involved with the Speed Robo Games community. So awesome there. They asked some very good questions, by the way, so, making my brain think a little bit. Why do indie card games try to fully release paper instead of digital? Sometimes with digital as a huge stretch goal. It feels like there's so much more logistical and social baggage in bringing games to the physical market and gathering popularity in LGSs, local game stores, especially when prototyping and playtesting through a tabletop simulator often establishes initial interest online. Okay, this is a very interesting question, I think. So I think the general answer, to be very honest with you, is it is much easier releasing a paper card game than a digital game, in my opinion. The reality is programming is freaking hard. Like, I'm not a programmer, but it's freaking hard to program. If you want to do it digital, you need to go, do all the programming, still make all the art as usual, still make the game. It's a lot of extra layers of it, and you gotta still market that. And you may be saying, well, Kevin, you have the art anyways. Like, even if there's no programming, right? Even if there's no programming, you have to do the work of like talking with the printer, manufacturing that thing, and then getting it out there anyways, right? That's true. There's a whole release aspect of like, hey, I have to print the cards, make the products physical, and get it out of people's hands. That is also true. I will say that. But I think in general, the thing with digital is it's a lot of money to pay these programmers. Like, if you want to actually like pay programmers the money to like go and make the game, it can be a lot. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you view it, not a lot of people know how to program. I know enough scripting to code in my cards for playtesting, and that's basically it. Do you think I know C++ or Java for these games? Absolutely not. No. And are you seeing, like, you're probably seeing Verisi, but if you're seeing other, these companies like Cardio right now kind of fumbling the ball a little bit with the indie card game communities, like, programming is not easy. Like, it's a hard thing. And can you imagine trying to make your game work 100% of the rules digitally? It is really hard to make your game rules work, especially when all these indie card games, man, are so complicated. If your game is very complicated, it's gonna be so hard to make your game work digitally. It's gonna be so hard. Like, all the nooks and crannies and like crazy quirky interactions. Imagine making that work digital. It's gonna be so hard to quality assure that and make it legit, So because of all that, it's just so much harder to make a card game digitally when you had in all these aspects, especially when these indie card games are so complicated already. It goes back to that same basic idea of complexity. So in my opinion, this is my opinion, right? I think it's way easier to just, hey, we're gonna take the logistical social baggage of indie card games. We know how to do it. We know how to do that well. Or at least we know not do it well, but we know how to make an indie card game. You just make the art, the gameplay, graphic design, make the product, get it shipped to, Alibaba, whatever. You get it shipped to some printing company, and then you just make that thing, right? You just make that, make the product, and you just get it in people's hands. Hopefully it's good. Like, people get the idea. It's a lot easier to grasp that concept of the paper release versus the other logistical nightmare of quality assuring a digital game, right? Making sure all the rules work with the game, and how do you monetize that game, right? How do you monetize digital? Are you gonna do free to play? Are people gonna have to buy the game, like Slay the Spire and stuff beforehand? Like, how do you even make money off the digital game anyways? Again, like, at least with paper, people know, hey, I'm spending money on a physical thing, I'm getting a physical thing. That's kind of a fair exchange. I put paper for paper, right? Paper for cardboard. That makes sense, right? How do I know if I buy a digital card game, I'm actually gonna get my money back on that card game? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna get all the money back as is on the card game. Now, yeah, with TTS and the playtesting, yeah, I mean, it's all digital with like the testing as is, but TTS again it's a simulator. I put it out in the TCG Buzz podcast episode coming out in the near future, if that thing comes out as is, because I'm terrible at getting podcasts out, to be honest. I mean, in my opinion, it's hard to do it, but with TTS in particular, you know, it's a simulator. People don't want to simulate playing a game. People want to play a card game. I want to see the germs of my fellow person in front of me. You know, I want to see like their face to face. I want to see the expression. You know, that's the whole point of card games. You know, so yeah, I think digital is not the way for trading card games in general. Like if you're going to be pushing for that, as for a lot of these indie people making this digital game, it's already hard enough to make people care about your indie card game anyways. If it's physical, you know, people own something, it's cool, it's enticing, even with the baggage and logistics there. And again, you know, digital, I mean, card games digitally, it's hard to make it work, you know? Like, the bigger companies can do it because they have the money to, you know, the team and the interest to monetize it. And if you're a smaller indie game, you should not make a digital TCG. You should rather make a kind of like Slay the Spire, Monster Train, Balatro kind of style digital game where it's like, hey, all the cards are there and you deck build on the fly, and it's like a video game, you know, treated that way. So yes, you can't really make a successful TCG work digitally unless you have, you know, the big marketing, all the stuff there. That's my answer, Varsity. That's my answer. Say if I'm wrong in the comments. Too Fluent again asking another good question as is. What are some good ways game creators can support players with organized play? That is a good question. How do we do that? So obviously, you know, we got the organized play scene, right? We got tournaments and the like. Competitive play is gonna be, you know, good. I personally, it's a personal thing. I think cash tournaments are great. I think cash tournaments bring people in. Cash tournaments are not going to be good for long-term interest in a game. It gets people in the door, but to generate long-term interest versus the short-term interest cash tournaments do for a game, you want to go and make sure your game is really good, okay? If the game is really good, like really good, the game is really good, and it's not hard to play the game, it's accessible enough, whether you're doing a collectible card game model or you're making your booster packs, you know, well made, kind of like CryptidFM, for instance, is actually a good example of this, because their game is actually like, the bulk feels usable. The bulk in that game feels usable. But that game has other issues also. But if you make your game good, accessible with the bulk, stuff like that, then people are going to play the game long term, in general, if you keep, you know, promoting it a little more. So cash tournaments are good. Charbugs are doing cash tournaments. I love seeing that as is. But kind of like how my friends at Tabletop Aces pointed out, cash tournaments can be a money sink, honestly, because you put all this money into a cash tournament, you get like 20 players show up. Awesome. How many of them are going to keep playing long term? I don't know. You got to keep putting more cash tournaments to keep them interested. It's literally pay to win at that point. I would for sure keep doing tournaments. I think rare promos and stuff like that is going to be good. I think the Speed Robo approach is good too, with having community events or just, hey, you get prizes if you play too. A great marketing trick that I would do is if you do a video of you playing with your partner, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, of the game, or just your friends, you do a whole gameplay video, you get a free card, right? The kitchen table players are for the most part forgotten. Even like, you know, I know Speedrobot Games does the kitchen table tournaments, so like sponsor that, that's awesome. But what about just regular, just kitchen table play? Like, is that supported at all? Not really. Like, no one cares about this casual play. And honestly, it's the casual play that's going to get forgotten. How many games of like casual play could have been streamed out there and supported if people actually cared about it, you know? How much more gameplay videos could have come out for your game if casual play people just recorded their games? The casual commander nights, the casual sorcery nights, you know, even the casual nights, even the semi-casual nights, you know, of competitive players playtesting. Like if you're a competitive player for Shardbugs or any other card game, you're gonna spend hours, going through the gauntlet of playtesting, for your decks for a tournament. So imagine if all those hours were actually streamed and recorded. Just imagine how much more gameplay videos would have come out at that point, So I think game companies should incentivize, add a marketing fee, for casual play. Put up a video, full video of you playing the game, and you get a promo. That's it. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can just do white envelope. Where's my envelope here? Like white envelope, top loader, send that in as like a promo card. As this. Doesn't even have to be a super rare promo. It could even be some bulk, man. Like just send some free stuff. Like players love free stuff. If you just do like, a video or some free stuff, people are gonna take that in. It's like, oh, it's free stuff, man. Like, it's free because they're not spending money. They're just, hey, get out a video of me playing on my phone and a tripod. Easy peasy. Go super basic. Get out a picture of just the game, right? And have them post it in the socials. Tag us, right? Do that. Who's doing that? Who's really actually doing that? Like honestly, like call me out in comments, like for sure, because I love it when I'm wrong actually, so it helps me get better. But who is actually out there as a game company saying we love seeing casual gameplay? We love giving away a promo or two for pictures of casual gameplay, tagging us. That I want to see more of. Okay, because to me that's organized play. Organized play doesn't mean competitive play. That's a big thing. Organized play is not competitive play. Organized play is I'm playing because it's a reason. This play over here was organized for a reason. And the reason can be casual play with a promo. That, I think, needs to be pushed a lot more rather than just big tournaments. You got to push the casual play scene because it's the casual players who are going to talk to the non-card gamers, the other casual gamers who are going to buy your game as is. I get it, competitive players, who gotta support competitive players. We gotta have, the tournament bracket scene. I think Shardbugs doing a lot of good stuff with the tournament scene they have as is. But I do think we have to also reach out beyond the competitive scene and think about the casual player scene and the new player scene. I heard a really good idea from a friend of mine, and that idea basically was, hey, have some teaching tournaments, right? We have a parent and a child tournament, right? Parent, father, son, mother, daughter kind of tournament, father, daughter, mother, son tournament. I don't know. You have them compete and just casually compete, organized play with your game. Great idea to have parents and kids play together in those tournaments, stuff like that, those casual tournaments, really casual stuff. That's good too. Ways to bring people together casually, those casual events. And again, free prizes, just a single promo card, white envelope, whatever. That will get really far. That's gonna get really far, man. That's my answer. Support casual play, screenshots, videos, whatever for cards, Question number 8 by the Big Daddy himself. Mike, a Team Illusion, competitive Chronicles Arcane player and loves playing games. Very strong player, good guy. How does a great small indie card game, whatever, get the exposure it deserves? I guess who helps newer, smaller games thrive and grow into a powerhouse indie? Okay, so first of all, what is a powerhouse indie, man? I think about that question first. I think a powerhouse indie is an indie card game that survived for a while. The longer you've been alive, if you've been alive for a while, for years, you're still making sets, and you have a good small community that's active, I think that's a win. You don't need 1 million people. You don't even need 10,000 people. You don't even need 5,000 fans. If you have like a few hundred fans, 100 fans even, who are really dedicated to your game, that's awesome. That's a huge win. Even like a 50 fans, 50 really, really, really dedicated hardcore fans, like that's a win. That's a win, man. So I think to me that's a powerhouse indie. But getting exposure to small indies, again, it goes back to the concept, man. We gotta have more content out there. But here's the thing, right? In the TCG Buzz podcast with Echoes of Astra team, they have a good point by the Echoes of Astra team. They were saying like, hey, card games, trading card games are one of the only mediums today where basically you have to like sit down in a room and talk face to face with someone and actually build that community up. TCGs are one of the only things actually doing that. One of the only mediums actually doing that. So that's the thing. These indie games, they are going to grow the most by exposure of just word of mouth. The thing is we all know each other more likely. It's a lot of the same people in the indie card games community. It's so small. I'll say my story with Myriad. Myriad, I was like one of the first supporters of the game, put some money in it. I told Big Daddy here, in the question number 8, I was like, hey, this game's good. I was a little skeptical to try it out at first. Look at him now. Loves to play the game, put good money into the product. Told another friend, he got in the game, buying product, and now, if Big Daddy just heard from the maker of Myriad, Danger Boat, hey, play my game. Danger Boat's like, hey, play my game, right? I think Big Daddy's want to try it out? Maybe, probably not, because like a creator saying to play their game, what is that? But if it's someone they trust, like, again, we're loyal to each other. People are loyal to each other. If it's someone they trust, then they're more willing to try it out. So I honestly think, right, first of all, like, we have to appeal to these indie card game players that are already there. So like for me, right, like, I guess technically I'm an influencer. I kind of hate that term, honestly, but I'm technically an influencer, right? If I'm talking about a game and people trust that I'm genuine and authentic enough, and I say it's really good, and I keep pushing it, they're a lot more willing to try it out than, like, say, all the Facebook ads in the game, all the commercials in the game. The Facebook ads, Instagram ads, they're useful to a point. They get new blood in, maybe. I mean, I got into MetaZoo, or original MetaZoo, because of a Facebook social media post. Honestly, that's how I got into it. It's all about word of mouth, man. We trust our friends the most. We trust who we're loyal to the most. My opinion, if you want an indie card game to grow, first of all, you have to actually expose yourself to new card games. If you're just being tribalistic in one card game and not exposing yourself to new card games, you're not going to grow these smaller card games, And then, you gotta talk about the game. You gotta push small card games you care about. If you talk about the game personally, it's like, hey, dude, this is a good game. You gotta check it out. That's what you need to do. Because you have to appeal to these current, people interested in the card games already. That's how you have to appeal. You have to do word of mouth, appeal that way. Now, there is some, of course, and actually, I wouldn't say some. There's a lot of like responsibility to the indie card game company too. They still gotta do the stuff. They still gotta market. Still gotta have organized play stuff here and there. They still gotta do like their ads here and there. They gotta do stuff that way, right? But the reality is, these smaller indie card games are carried by grassroots. It's carried by the fans. Original MetaZoo is a good example. It was carried by the fans, and now you look at these communities like Shardbug, stuff like that, right? They're being carried by the fans. Fans carrying them, spreading word of mouth. I mean, Shardbugs is still doing this stuff too. They're still doing tournaments, still marketing, all that stuff. But again, it was back to the idea that indie card games are grassroots movements. It's grassroots. So the fans have to do the work. So the biggest responsibility of the game company is not even to just market, in my opinion. Like, you have to actually make a good product. That's what you have to do. If the product is really good and you get it into enough people's eyes, it will probably succeed. Or at least, again, by succeed, I'm not saying $1 million. I'm saying it will probably survive. It will probably sell to a point, right? The product has to be good. If the product is not good, art sucks, gameplay sucks, graphic design sucks. Like, if it all sucks, no one is going to want to continuously play the thing. No one's going to want to buy the thing. No one wants to collect the thing, right? No chase, whatever. Like, no one's going to chase it, right? So the product actually has to be good. That is a reality. The product actually has to be good. If the product is good and you share it to enough people, good. Again, I like what Myriad did, because Danger Boat is, and also Two Fluents like this, Speed Robo's like, it's like this too. If you make card games and you are a good member of the card game adjacent communities, you will have connections to fans and other people, and you will be able to spread your game that way. The key is build up your social circle before you make a card game, because that way you're gonna have a fan base already there, people who already like you. If people already enjoy you as a person already, then they're going to be more willing to try out your game. So yeah, if you want to make a card game, check out the other card game communities. Check out the board game communities, whatever. Mostly check out the card game communities. If you're making a board game, check out the other adjacent smaller board game communities. But join these communities. Don't like shill out your product. Don't spam your product and be like, hey, play my game all day, all night. No, actually show genuine interest in other people's stuff and build up real connections. And then when you make your game and you have the real connections there, that support network already there, then people are a lot more willing to support you. Because remember, guys, this is very important. It's not about quantity. It's not about quantity of fans in indie card games. It's about loyalty of fans. Loyalty over quantity. That's what it's about. Having loyal fans is going to do more justice than just having a lot of fans. Loyal fans will stick with you in the good and the bad. They'll buy your product no matter what. Loyal fans are where it's at. Have the loyal fans. And to get loyal fans, you got to show loyalty to yourself to other people. Okay, and then they'll be loyal back. That's my opinion. Question number 9. Another one by Varesi here. Another good question. Asking me the hard questions here. Do you ever feel fatigued by looking at so many indie TCGs? Yeah, which try to reskin and fix, quote unquote, reshuffle mechanics from popular card games. So many of these games can be summarized as fixed Magic or Pokemon with a twist, and there's a huge mountain to climb to prove their worth playing over their ancestors. I don't necessarily dislike them. I have collections for many of them. Yeah, whatever. Theming in a cleaner slate can do a lot, but I do feel like it often leads to them to die. It makes it hard to justify teaching / playing them over playing bigger games that people already know. Varisi, you have a brain. I love your brain. Very good. Okay, so honestly, okay, this is my opinion, right? I'm not tired of seeing like indie card games trying to reskin reshuffle mechanics. I'm not tired of that, right? MetaZoo did that. Let's be honest, Shardbugs does that, right? Shardbugs is basically Magic with some twists on the land system and stuff, with more simple, like, gameplay, and also, like, a little more simple, like, complexity of the card design, and, kick-ass art, right? It's like Shardbugs doing that. Let's be honest, Speed Robo Games System Gate is Buddy Fight Risk-End with some twists. It's literally Buddy Fight, right? So we gotta be honest, like, games I like, a lot of them are Risk-End reshuffle mechanics. I'm not tired of that, right? There's a pro in the reshuffling of the mechanics because it makes the game a lot easier to pick up. If the game is a lot easier to pick up, then I don't have to put as much brain power in picking it up. It goes back to a point I've been thinking about where, TCGs are a language, right? Magic is like, English, and then Duel Masters, Kaijudo is like Japanese. Why not? Let's go with that. And then, Pokemon is like, Spanish, whatever. Like, these games are all like on the same vein of like language speaking, but they're all using these different words and stuff. If these mechanics are similar, it's gonna be easier for me to pick it up. I don't have a problem if you're trying to fix Magic or you're doing Pokemon with a twist. That's not a huge deal. Are you gonna die, like, if you do that? Maybe, because it has to be good enough for me to keep buying it. The art has to be good, all that stuff. It can be fatiguing to see it reskinned and stuff if they're lazy. If they're just copying directly, like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic to a T, it's bad. Like going back to the example, right? Like Shardbugs has some cool stuff, with the creatures going back to the land going back to the board. That's cool. Speed Robo Games, System Gate. It's Buddy Fight with a T, but it has some cool systems for when you play a Gate Master, you get extra effects. That's pretty cool, So there's some cool stuff going on in those kind of like reshuffled mechanics kind of games. So what I do get fatigued by? My friend, this is what I get fatigued by the most. It's not reskinning mechanics. It's, again, the laziness of the products, right? That's what I get by. Like, someone who just refuses to, like, they just copy and they don't change anything. And then they just put out, not good Kickstarters, right? Not good marketing, not enough information, no rule book, again, on no videos of the gameplay on release, like all this stuff, AI art without saying it, for instance, stuff like that. That's what I get fatigued by. I get fatigued by like the laziness and the copying of just the stuff without knowing anything. I am more forgiving if a company, like occasionally I see Kickstarters that are like, hey, you know what? This person has a cool concept. They don't know what the hell they're doing, right? They don't know how the hell they market the game. They need a guy like Radon Vasey, whoever at Tabletop Game. They need people. They need a Jacob. They need a William. They need whoever. They need these consultants to help them out with their Kickstarter and help them go on to the next level. They need a next level person on their side to help them out. The game is good, but they need someone to help them out. I think Necromancers, which is a game I love, is one of those stories. From what I heard on a video, Necromancers had a publisher, didn't fund on Kickstarter, went with Tabletop Games. They funded super hard, like $20,000, and out there a game. So yeah, I think I have sympathy for a good idea, but a poor execution, right, of the idea. I have sympathy for that. If you have a good product and you just don't know what you're doing, that's fine, right? The idea is good. And I'm not fatigued by that. I think it's cute. I think it's cool. It's organic, right? I respect passion, right? If I could see genuine passion in the reskinned and shuffle, and they're having fun, they're having fun while they're doing it. That's cool, right? I care about passion and personality. I'm not fatigued by that. I don't get tired of seeing that, But what I do get fatigued by is if there's copying stuff and reskinning stuff, and it's generic and there's no passion. They're just doing because it's like, it's like a business, or they're being lazy about it, right? How do I know? Now, again, this is all biased, right? How do I know if they're being lazy versus if they're just being passionate, right? One, being lazy is like just copying it all, and they're just, they're treating it as a moneymaker, right? They're like, oh yeah, they don't mention anything about playtesting. They don't mention like how much they love the thing. They don't mention that much human stuff. It's it's very clear. It's like AI art without disclosing it, or it's like just cheap art as is. Like they're shilling it out, man. Like you know what I'm talking about, right? As is. They're just doing it without showing why they're passionate. There's no like story behind it. If you're just, I think that's the thing, man. If you're just making a card game to sell it, right, and you're just copying what works, that's what I'm getting annoyed about. That's what I'm really annoyed about. That's the cheapness there. That's like the copying thing I don't like. If you're just making the card game just to sell, right, as a business only, without any passion, with no passion, and that's what I get frustrated about. Okay, if I see someone out there who's really loves their IP, really loves their game, if it's a Pokemon lookalike, whatever, right, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic lookalike, whatever, right, I don't care. If they're passionate about it, it's organic, right? Organic meaning they put work into it as is. They don't copy and paste something, chatbot it. They actually put the work in, and it's organic. That I actually like. That I actually appreciate. That I actually want to support. I may not back it right away. For me, I have a higher standard. I'm only gonna back stuff that I know is more polished than others. And if I know it's good, it has to be good. Right, typos here and there, I can forgive that. Grammar is hard, right? But like in general, it has to be good. If I know it's good, and the passion is there, it's organic, I'm gonna support it. So again, I get fatigued. I think that's the answer, my friend. I get fatigued the most by indie TCGs that try to reskin or reshuffle mechanics from the popular card games. If it's just for profit, if they actually are caring about the community, they're passionate, and they fix it for XYZ reasons, and the game actually looks good, I don't care, man. Like, do whatever. Like, fix Magic. Pokemon with a twist. I'll probably buy it if it's good. Just saying. Okay, I think this is the last question by my awesome artist friend Indigo. Makes amazing art. Indigo is a awesome guy who also has a brain, and is going to ask me the hard question here. Kevin, how important is it that a TCG creator strives to showcase iconic artwork? I mean, he means like good artwork. And what do you say when looking at a game that relies on the niche feel-good topics but presents as artistically. Dang, what are these questions? Are good questions, and it's racking my brain, man, answering all these questions right now. Oh my god. Okay, Indigo, I see you. So, for the sake of the question, I'm gonna say iconic. I'm interpreting iconic in two ways. First of all, I'm interpreting it as like good art. I'm also interpreting it as maybe like allegories, you know, like going towards like referencing maybe original artwork like Mona Lisa, whatever, like showing off stuff like that. And then niche feel good topics, artistically lazy. Okay, so I think if you're a TCG, this is my thing. Art is the most important thing in a trading card game. I think it's the art that brings people in, and it sucks to say that because I'm a game designer, right? But I'm being very honest. It's the art that actually brings people in. It's the first thing they see. I was having this argument with my dad. I was like, you can't just put words on paper, like black and white, you know, paper text, and sell it. No one's gonna buy that. Even if it's the best game ever, like no one's gonna buy that. The art adds theme, it adds story, it's the first thing they see, it's the first thing they're exposed to, and people connect with it. And people connect mechanics and art, you know, with the gameplay. You could make the best game ever on words, maybe I'll still play it, but again, I like looking at the art too, I'll be honest with you. I am into aesthetics like that. I think most people are. So yeah, you gotta show off iconic and important artwork as is. I think, again, you can use AI art if you wanted to, as long as you disclose the art as is and you're transparent about it. I think that's fine. All right, but I think the human art, when done well, is gonna be like 10 times better. It's gonna be awesome, and you should show off that art. Regarding like the allegories and stuff, I think art for card games gets better if it references popular culture, references some old school artwork. I think that's good. MetaZoo had that here and there. The OG MetaZoo. A lot of games do that still. So memes and stuff. So I think it's important to showcase iconic artwork. And again, it's more important than the game design, the gameplay. And then this other topic, the niche feel-good topics. So artistically lazy. I'm interpreting artistically lazy as they're just making like, you know, they see Pokemon, copy paste, generic, or like that. No personality in the designs, right? No imperfections. By personality, really people are talking about imperfections in the art, and you know, that's cool. Is it imperfect at all? That's really what we're talking about, right? In my opinion. So if there's no imperfections, no little bit of mistakes here and there, no whimsical nature, and it's just, you know, artistically lazy, you know, I'm not super into it, right? I would say you can't just put in like, hey, it's like a cuddly game, it looks really nice, and then it's just kind of like, you know, the art's not good, right? The art's not good, artistically lazy, you know, who's gonna buy it? The art doesn't have to be like amazing, like, but you can't just put in cute stuff, you know, generic, you know, clip art, and then hope it wins in TCG world. Now, in board game world, right? In board game world, it's a lot more leeway. Like, I think of a game like Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, and they have really, really simple art, but it's clean art. It's clean, simple art. I wouldn't call that artistically lazy. I would call that well designed, honestly, because the art in that game actually has a functional purpose of like being clear to see and all that. You know, it's easy to read, easy to see, it's cute. You know, you're just gonna quickly see, oh, it's Taco, it's Cat, right? You have to see that quickly for the simplicity of the game. So if you're just, but if all you're doing is this niche feel good topic, like say save the rainforest animals, and the art is just like, you know, a picture of a rainforest and a generic panda and it's stock art, I don't know if I'm gonna buy that, man. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna buy that thing. Again, with TCG, again, there's a lot of overlap in the trading card game world and the art world, honestly. The fact is, we as card game people, we support artists a lot of times. How many artists have, you know, relied on sketch card, you know, like donations or sketch card sales, right, to make a living, right? Like, you can make a living off being a TCG artist with all the sketch cards and stuff, and getting, you know, enough money from your extra doodles and your sales. You know, we in the card game community want to support artists. That is a reality. And artists support card games by making art for those games, bringing it to life. But to your question again, if you're just doing these feel-good topics only, it's like, you know, save the rainforest, cute puppies, whatever, you know, like, and it's just no art. It's just, or, you know, very basic art, stock art and stuff. I'm probably not gonna buy your game. I see that every night. Once a month, I see like a conservation kind of game on Kickstarter. That's like, hey, we're gonna give some money to the rainforest or whatever, and put in some generic looking art and endangered animals. But it's just the animals and not any cuteness behind it. Like, I'm not gonna buy that, bro. I'm not gonna buy that. I'm all for conservation. I'm like, you know, I'm a biology major in college, but dude, I'm not gonna buy that. Like, dude. Like, you gotta have good art. Gotta have good art. And of course, have a good game to keep me hooked on it. So, hopefully I answered your question. If not, ask me another question, Indigo, to ask more in depth, and let me know, man. Okay, that is the entire Q&A. My God, hopefully that was enough detail for everyone. I answered my honest opinions. No script, by the way, just going at it. But what do you think of the questions and answers? Comment below in this video. I had a very good time making it. You guys are making my brain entangled right now. My brain's entangled by these hard questions. But I love answering them. And I will do... Let me know in the comments also, how often do you want to see these videos? Do you guys like this video? Do you like my honest thoughts on card games and stuff with barely any editing? Let me know. If you want to see more stuff like this, I can do them like once every couple months, hopefully. And then, yeah, let me guys know if you want to see more stuff like this. That's Kevin. I'll see you in my next video. Peace.